or click today. We told you the Spurs won. Here's how.
Crawford to inbound, hunting for a white jersey. Gets it to Griffin, sheds his defender down the lane to the rim with the right hand for the lead. It's good. Oh, no, they wipe it away. Offensive goaltending. I don't believe it.
He didn't believe it. That was the play-by-play call. That's obviously the Clippers call last night, courtesy of the Beast 980 in Los Angeles. Blake Griffin going to the basket, down one with 4 seconds remaining, puts a little floater up that is going to go in.
It is absolutely.
Do you agree with me? That's going in.
Absolutely, positively going in. Timmy Duncan goes up to contest it, so it's a floater. It rolls around the rim. It is absolutely going in. It's going to give them a 1-point lead with a couple of seconds to go. But DeAndre Jordan, he tips it in. He clearly touches the ball. It's clearly in the cylinder. There is absolutely no doubt about that. DeAndre Jordan even admitted it after the game. We'll hear that.
Well, you can't miss it. I mean, there isn't any question but that he touches it. That's beyond debate.
Right.
The question is, was the ball outside the cylinder? That's the only question you could ask. And to me, the answer is absolutely not.
To me, you could see it on the regular, forgetting even needing the replay, you could see it on the regular play that had happened. That there was just a matter, then you wanted to see it. Looked like he touched it. Let's just confirm that he touched it because he did it lightly with his hand and just caught the ball a little bit. But no doubt, I completely agree, it was going in. Clippers would have had a 1-point lead with a couple seconds to go.
And it's just a horrible ending. Yep. It reminds me of the NCAA tournament game, like the UCLA SMU game that ended on a terrible goaltending call. That was a terrible call. Right. The difference here is this is the right call. It's absolutely the right call. It's a horrible way for a team to lose a game and probably lose its season, going down 3-2 now, losing home court advantage, having to go on the road to San Antonio. Although you never know. This series has been so good. The teams are pretty even. Could the Clippers come back and win a Game 6 and force a Game 7? Sure they could. But that's a terrible, terrible loss. And what an incredible way for it to end.
Yeah.
But to me, I mean, right off the top, and I'd be dying to hear from anyone who wants to disagree with us. Open mind, if you want to try and talk me out of it. To me, it's absolutely, without question, the right call.
There are plenty of times people look at replays and see things differently. So certainly you could look at that. But what a game this was. You know, last few minutes, the 10-4 surge by San Antonio to put them up in that game. A good game, maybe save for the third quarter where you had to cut out. If you wanted to get your snacks, that was the time. 35 combined free throws in the third quarter. The hack of DeAndre was in full force. He was intentionally fouled 8 times. Here's a number for you, Greeny. And you want to talk where it cost you with the Clippers. Now, a lot of these misses, when you combine them, were DeAndre Jordan at the free throw line. He was 7 of 16. But you look at the Spurs, they were 11 of 23 from three-point land. So 11 of 23, that's 33 points. 28 of 37, 75% from the free throw line. Threes and free throws, they scored 61 points. For the Clippers, they were 1 of 14 from three-point land and 26 of 42 from the free throw line. They scored 29 points. 61 points, free throws and threes, to 29 points for the Clippers. I mean, there's the monster difference right there. Couldn't hit their threes, the Clippers. Obviously, with DeAndre Jordan contributing mostly here, horrible free throw percentage, and still they had a ball rolling in the hoop. I'm not going to say it was going to win it, but it was going to give them the lead with just a couple of seconds to go.
They would have gone ahead.
They got to be sick. Now, quite honestly, San Antonio's like, oh my God, I mean, escape with that one. That the Clippers missed so many of those shots and still are that one, inner basket interference of having the lead.
The other difference in this game, of course, is the bench, which has been a factor. All of the Clippers have no bench outside of Jamal Crawford, and they were outscored last night off the bench 48-17 in a game that basically is a 1-point game with 4 seconds left. The final differential winds up being 4, but it was actually closer than that. Doc Rivers afterwards was just irate.
Guys, I don't complain much. I thought we got some really tough calls tonight, some brutal calls. The travel on Blake, the goaltend on Matt, which wasn't a goaltend. You think about the playoffs and their single possession games. Those possessions, those were crucial. The foul that got them the basket, got them up. JJ didn't touch anyone, and so it's not why we lost, but those are big plays.
Well, it is. I mean, if you want to say it, say it. You can. If you're saying that, then say it's why we lost. It's a one-possession game, and you're pointing out 4 or 5 bad calls you think you got, and not inclusive of the final play, because once Doc sees that or had seen it, obviously he doesn't mention that because it is the correct call, and he knows that. But if you're going to, first of all, to say we don't complain, they complain more than any team in the league. That's neither here nor there. But if you're going to say we got a bunch of bad calls today, then say that's the reason we lost. Because if you did get 5 bad calls, it would be the reason you lost because it's a one-possession game.
I'll put a little more on it. If you're maybe, 8 of 14 from threes and you're, 36 of 42 from the free throw. But, let's look there as well. And certainly, listen, they're separate things. If they're bad calls, they're bad calls. And if you think they were and you want to complain about them, that's fine. But going 1 of 14 from three-point land and missing all the free throws, again, mostly DeAndre Jordan, there are certain places to look other than the referees as well on this one.
There are, but it's still a one-possession game.
That is.
You still have a ball that's going to go in.
Yes, you do.
If not touched in the cylinder, that's going to give you a 1-point lead with 4 seconds left. As far as DeAndre Jordan's
dumbass play. I hit the ball. We did a good job fighting, to put us in a situation to go up 1 and. You know what I mean? It was, you can't blame anybody for that but me. You know what I mean? I tipped the ball. I hit it. So like I said, that's on me.
Listen,
I feel bad for him.
Well, here's the thing. You can see what was going through his mind, where he was coming toward the basket, where the ball was coming toward him. I think he thought it was bouncing out, and he was going to tip it in. The clock is running down there just a couple seconds ago. He's trying to make a bang-bang play, but unfortunately the ball was still in the cylinder. The way it looked and it hit off the right, if you're looking at the basket, the right side of the rim, the backboard, then the left side of the rim, and where DeAndre Jordan was coming up, I think he thought it was coming out of the cylinder, and he was just going to tip it right back.
And it might have. I can't swear beyond a reasonable doubt that ball was going in.
It might have, but I do think watching it, I think the ball was going in. Either way, it was basket interference, and it was the correct call.
Here's the one thing that I can't speak to for obvious reasons. Any basketball I've ever played in my life never took place above the rim, right? So I would assume these big guys are taught. You follow every shot. You go up there, and if it's bouncing around, you tip it in. I don't know that you have time in midair to try to gauge whether you think it's outside the cylinder, inside. You see it bouncing around, and you tip it. Now, obviously, when you played as much as he's played, and when you've been as big as he is for as long as he has, and by the way, how many dunks did he have last night? Just a typical monster Lob City James by DeAndre Jordan. But when you've done that as many times as he has, obviously he knows, the
you have a sense.
But I think my point is, I think when you do drills and all that kind of stuff these guys must do, I'm guessing you go up there, and if it doesn't go in clean, you tip it in.
Yeah,
right?
but to tip it, I disagree a little bit.
It's a question I'm asking more than anything else. Obviously, I've never done
These guys do it long enough to know when they can tip it in, or we'd see a ton of basket interference because we've seen the ball bounce around the rim before. They don't just go up and automatically tip it if it's not going in. They have to have a sense of where the ball is. Even the kid, we thought it was a horrible call in that college game, but the kid who grabbed it said, I have to know better, and if the ball's anywhere near the cylinder, not go up and touch it above the rim. So these guys have to know that. It's at that point, it's almost in their DNA to try and time it better. He timed this one wrong. Again, you add in the clock counting down. He wasn't maybe, a couple seconds left, so he's trying to make sure it goes in. He said it. He said it, we tried to make a play, and it cost him, and he took responsibility for it. It's a shame. It's a shame because that ball was going to go in. Would have been interesting to see how it ended after that, but boy, what a finish.
And that could be the way the Clippers season crumbles. Ultimately, we'll see. They'll go back to San Antonio down 2-3. They did win Game 4 there. Can they win Game 6 there? Of course they can.
Sure,
it's been a terrific series. The other NBA game last night, Rockets close out the Mavericks behind typical performances from their big guys, including James Harden.